Hi, it's Whitney from EcoVeganGal.com. This video is like a lot of the videos I do on this uncensored channel. It's a little bit of a heated topic, and it's going to reference a video that I did on the main EcoVeganGal channel about Obamacare. And if you haven't checked out that video yet, it's linked down below. So let's jump right into it. I'm struggling to figure out what to do as the looming deadline to sign up for Obamacare approaches on Monday. Today's Sunday the 30th, and the deadline is Monday the 31st. Although I have a feeling that, I have a feeling it can go through the extension, basically. But man, has this been an incredibly frustrating, but yet interesting, fascinating experience. So I really recommend that you check out that video because I don't want to reiterate everything I've already said. It's a 15-minute long video, but honestly, it's packed full of interesting information, our firsthand experience and thoughts. And based on the feedback I've received on that video, it seems that a lot of people are in the same boat. And I recorded that video just over 24 hours ago, about a day and a half ago, I would say, actually. And I've received like 150 comments that I've pored over and spent so much time considering. And unfortunately, I can't say that any of them have really helped, because I've realized one major thing in all of this is that people are so spread out across the board when it comes to healthcare. It's really, really interesting. So it's interesting to me because I'm not a very political person, and this is a very political-centered topic here. When I say I'm not political, it means that I have never had that much interest in politics and the government. I pay attention when I have to. I pay attention when it's clear. I read the news. I watch the news sometimes. I try to stay informed about what's going on in the world, but politics have always been so confusing. And I bet that they're confusing to most people unless, that's all you do. So I've always kind of shied away from it. And like I said, only paid attention when I most need to. And honestly, I've been kind of the go with my gut type of person when it comes to politics. But I don't want this to be a political thing. Although I will explain, when I say go with my gut, I mean, when it comes to who I vote for, it's kind of like, does this person make me feel good or bad? And what do my friends and family think about that? And a lot of people actually make their decisions that way. And of course, I do the research when I can, but when it's overwhelming, my brain starts to shut down. And let me know if you feel the same way. What do you do in that sense? I almost wish that we were better educated to, when we're in school, to know how to understand politics. But then part of me wonders, is it purposely meant to be confusing for us so that we can't get quite involved? Does that take some level of power away from us? And you could call that a little bit of like a paranoia, or what's the term? Conspiracy theory things. But a lot of things are left confusing, and a perfect example is our health. There's a reason why people are sick, and let's center this whole topic in the United States, where I live. I know a lot of you are outside the United States, and I want to hear from you, but all the comments I'm making are about being a U.S. citizen. In our country, from my only experience living here as a citizen, is that the education is always had some sort of issue. I happen to have had what I think is a great education. I went to a really wonderful public school through up until college, and then I went to a really amazing liberal arts, I think it was a private college, university. And I had really wonderful teachers. I had really wonderful students in class with me, and I learned so much. And I recognized as we grew older and got out into the world that my education was probably higher than the majority of people that I was around. So I'm so thankful. But it's so interesting at the same time how many gaps in my knowledge there were, even though I paid attention in school and I had good teachers. And it's interesting because sometimes I wonder if it comes down to, just politics, to governmental regulations and what we learn and what we're taught versus what we're not. And it's so interesting. Again, I've never been interested in the politics side of any of this, but now my mind is starting to realize why it's important to know. So, okay, so we've got two things. One is that a lot of people don't understand how the government works and what's going on. It's just too much. It's overwhelming. It's confusing. And it's almost the exact same thing when it comes to our health. So this whole healthcare issue is probably insanely overwhelming for the majority of the population. It's like they just want the simplest answers. Just tell me what to do. Tell me what to sign up. Here's my money. Okay. And you wonder why people are getting sick. You wonder why people are dependent on the healthcare system. And again, this is all speculation in my perspective, and not being the most educated person on the topic, which is part of the reason I want to do these videos, to get your perspective as well. So here, really the bottom line is that I'm finding this whole healthcare system to be incredibly confusing. The only time I've had healthcare in my life, which is actually the majority of my life, was through my parents. When I went to college, my parents purchased a separate health insurance plan for me, and I think that went a little after I graduated, and then I had health insurance through my employers. And I've had a variety of different jobs, and you always have to wait that few month period of time until you get your insurance, and then it goes. And I've seen so many different doctors. I've had all these different companies through my different health plans over the years. So I've had a lot of experience in that sense. And I'll never forget, I guess my health plan in college was vastly different from the one I had with my family. So when I first started going to the doctor without my parents involved, I couldn't, I had no idea what things I should avoid. And I went to the emergency room once for a reason I really didn't need to. And I ended up getting this huge bill. And I always found it so confusing. I didn't know what a deductible meant. And I didn't know how to prevent high costs, or what a copay meant. All this stuff just didn't make sense. I wasn't educated. And there's a certain amount of personal responsibility we need to take here. But there's also this sense of not knowing when to take that personal responsibility until we get into problems. And that is just so frustrating. It's is it our parents' responsibility? Is it our teachers' responsibility? Why isn't this information being brought into us like we are to learn math? As much as I love math, math is such a general thing, and science is a general thing that most of us don't apply on a regular basis. Why aren't we taught important things that we need to know for real life situations? Those things should have equal amount of emphasis here. And, especially when it comes to learning about your health, it's something that's practically non-existent in education systems, even coming from somebody who is rather privileged in my upraising. I didn't know that much about health. I've been completely self-taught. And all the issues I had growing up are what led me to this place, but not everybody can say that. So many people just throw their hands up in the air and just do whatever the majority tells them to, or the media or the advertisers or whatever it is. And it's just amazing, this crazy mess. So coming back around, what I'm feeling now is so aghast at the lack of really accessible information around healthcare. So I had no idea. I haven't had insurance for, I think, a year and a half, maybe 2 years now. And I haven't really felt the need for it. I mentioned all of this stuff in my other video. So I wasn't really paying attention. I didn't feel that much pressure. I kind of knew about ObamaCare, the ACA, but very vaguely. And it wasn't until my father kind of said to me, are you going to sign up for this, that I thought, I don't know. I guess I'll go online. And I went online and I was like, oh, so if I don't sign up by March 31st, I'll be penalized. Okay. So how much will I be penalized? That alone took me a while to figure out. It wasn't very clear. And once I found the information, it became clear, but it took some digging to figure out how much I would be fined. And then I was like, okay, well, now I need to compare the penalty to the cost of insurance. I went online, I saw this number, and I thought, okay, that doesn't seem that affordable to me. It's, it's all relative, right? So then I look out and I find out it actually was incredibly affordable compared to the average insurance plan. And I thought, this is amazing how much people are paying for personal health insurance. If you don't have a job that pays for health insurance, you're paying so much out of pocket. Not to mention the cheaper plans have super high deductibles. So when you go to the doctor, you're paying huge copays and it's just like, oh my gosh, this is madness how much it costs to take care of your body. And as I mentioned in that video from my main channel, for me, I've been able to take care of my body primarily through my healthy lifestyle, which has been primarily through the food that I choose to eat. That has stopped me from getting sick every year as I used to before I adapted this lifestyle. This has stopped me from needing to go to the doctor. Every time I've gone to the doctor in the past 5 to 10 years, they're pretty much like, okay, you look good. And I'm sitting there thinking, I paid a copay to see you for you to just tell me something I already knew. I've had my blood test done and they're like, yeah, it looks good. It's like, I spend money on this and now I can rest assured, but part of me just doesn't even want to go anymore because it feels like a waste of time and money. And I think that's the thing about this all is it's just so bizarre. It's so bizarre. When one of my insurance has been paid by other people, whether it was my family or whether it was an employer, going to the doctor was not that big of a deal. I actually looked forward to it. I liked the assurance. I liked knowing that I was checking in on my body. And it's a completely different story, though, when you're paying it for yourself. And I'm just being frank here. I don't mean that to be like... I don't mean that to come across the wrong way, but it's just the true reality is once you realize how much it actually costs, then it really impacts the way you look at it. And suddenly I'm in a place where being somebody who cares so much about my health, when it comes to health insurance, that's not something I want to spend my money on. I would so much rather spend my money on buying organic whole foods, which, as we know, usually come at a premium. That's where I want to put my money. I also want to put my money on my yoga membership, which is not that cheap. And I want to put my money towards getting massages to make sure my body feels good on a daily basis. I love massages and all the other little things that I do for my health, on the products that I buy. I spend so much money on my health, and now I'm being asked to spend more money on a just in case. On like, oh, here, like, this is just peace of mind. And it's just, I don't know. It's so nuts. It's so nuts. It's driving me crazy. And I just feel so frustrated. And I'm sharing this with you because based on the comments I've received on that other video, I know a lot of people can agree. So here's the next layer to it, though. So beyond that feeling of, I don't want to pay for this. This is too expensive, which is ultimately how I feel and what I'm going through here. The other side of it is thinking, am I buying the right thing and not knowing what to buy? It is so aggravating. I have spent hours over the past few days researching healthcare options, and I just keep getting led in circles. I've been on the healthcare.gov/covered California as a California resident page, and they've given me some prices. I've gone to another private insurance company website, and I've looked at prices there, which are much higher. And I've been on the sites of some of the insurance companies that I like, and it's just led me all in circles. And I just get these numbers and I see the deductibles and none of the plans seem at all appealing to me. And I'm sitting here thinking, am I just putting my money into something because I feel like I have to? But then there's part of me that's really uncomfortable with not having health insurance. And this is also a weird thing because it's kind of all of a sudden. It wasn't until the past few days that I found that discomfort. I've had that little ping of discomfort over the few years, like, Whitney, you better get some sort of insurance when you can. And I remember looking into this years ago and thinking it was too expensive. Now it's even more expensive. But I feel like the pressure is really on because of the looming deadline, which is probably something a lot of people are going through. But here's the other interesting thing. So amongst my research, there's the standard website through the government, but multiple people had suggested that I look into accidental or catastrophic insurance. So accidental, I looked it up. I don't know anything about accidental. It's very confusing. And again, it's so hard to find information on this. But I went and looked it up and it made sense to me. And it was like less than $20 a month. It was so cheap. And I immediately thought, okay, I'll spend $20 a month on insurance just in case I get in an accident. There's also critical illness insurance, and that was just a little over $20. So combined, I'm spending less than $50 in the chance that I get into an accident or I get a critical illness. To me, that's exactly what I was looking for. And how come that's not positioned anywhere? So I thought, is it not positioned anywhere because the government doesn't want us to know about this? Or is this not positioned anywhere because it's not actually what it seems to be? What I don't know to this very moment, and after this video, I'm going to continue researching, I don't even know if I can get accidental and critical illness insurance without having a comprehensive medical insurance plan. It's just not made clear anywhere. What is made clear is that accidental and critical illness insurance will not count as the minimum insurance needed for ACA, and thus I'd still have to pay the penalty. But trust me, paying like $40 to $50 a month plus a penalty is saving me so much money as it is. I would rather pay out of pocket for any medical visits that I need to take, just based on all this stuff considered. So, as usual, I record these videos to express how I'm feeling, but it's also really important for me to hear from you. I want you to take a look at this other video because your comment may be more suited for that video than this one. This one, I am hoping for more feedback on it's different. There's a different tone. You'll see the comments over there. They're charged. People are like way one side or way the other or like kind of filtered in between, but there's definitely some extremes there. It gets pretty intense. And this channel, I really prefer the kind of more kinder, softer conversations and comments here. But I also just want to know if you have any information that you can share. I feel like the other video brought up people are like letting out their feelings and not so much getting to the crux of the solution, which is really what I'm after. It's like, please, somebody guide me in the right direction. I went to a party this evening and spoke to several people all across the board. I went to the grocery store and I asked my favorite grocer there, and she's got her own thing, and it's like I've talked to my parents, I've talked to people online. Everybody has something different to say about it, and it's like, how do you make up your decision? It's like throwing, a dart in the dark. Like you just don't know where it's going to land if you're even close to target. And everyone's like, just make it up. Just do what feels best to you. Neither way feels best to me. I don't want to spend money that I don't really want to, that I don't have that much extra money of on something just in case that I'm not really going to use. But I also don't want to not get insurance just to save money in the chance that something awful happens. It's like gambling. Is that really what health insurance is all about? Do you really just take one side or another and hope it works out for you? To me, if that's the case, it is so incredibly sad. And I feel like at the core, ObamaCare was meant to get everybody on health insurance so everyone was covered. But when you dig into things, it starts to feel like, are we being taken advantage of in some way? And if that's the case, which again, I don't know, it's really sad. And, one of my friends tonight the perspective was that just being off the grid. There are people that don't pay taxes. There are people that just don't get involved, that are constantly hiding from the government. And I don't want to be that extremist. I want to be in integrity with the other citizens of my country. I'm very proud to be a U.S. citizen, and I want to do my best to help people. But, time and time again, it just feels like we're being screwed over, we're being lied to, we're being manipulated. And I'm certainly not somebody that thinks that negative mindset and is very critical. I want to live a very positive life and look on the bright side of things. But sometimes this feels like the reality, and we have to understand the reality to assess how we're going to act in this world. And I'm not interested in sitting around complaining. I'm interested in taking action. And I'm wondering now if the masses in our country just do what they're told. And that's what the government is used to. And then the people like me who are saying, wait a second, there's something not right about this. I don't feel comfortable with this. This isn't right for me. We're the ones that are left out. We're the ones that are pushed aside, and we have to look for some alternate route. And it's not a good feeling. It's not a good feeling at all. I want to feel like I'm recognized as an individual, and I feel like if the masses saw it that way too, if there was a way for it to be better suited to us as individuals, then things could be so much better for us. If there was a way for, I don't know, I guess that's kind of wishful thinking in a lot of ways, because that's just not how our government works. But overall, I feel like people just accept things, and the whole part of what I do is offering other options, is saying you don't have to go this route, because this route might not necessarily take you down the path where you want to be. The biggest problem is that it seems like so many people live a life just doing what they're told to do. And what ends up happening is that they're not satisfied with their life. They have a career that they don't love, and they take careers that they don't love because they want the money and they want the benefits. Again, this is like an overarching generalization here, right? That's a huge issue that we have. Then number 2, food. People eat food that they're told to, what they're used to. There's so many issues around food in our country, and they end up feeling sick. And they expect to get sick. They're used to getting sick. Everybody else around them is getting sick. It becomes normal to get sick. And so they go to the doctor, and it becomes normal to go to the doctor all the time. And it becomes normal to pay high health insurance. And it becomes normal to pay prescription drugs. And because all those expenses are there, the last thing they want to do is buy organic, healthy food. And then it becomes normal to be unhappy. It becomes normal to be sick. It becomes normal to feel exhausted. And what happens at the end of this? So many people are living these lives till they're in their 70s, their 80s. And then, who even knows what's happening in terms of our retirement funds? That's, another issue I barely know anything about. But it's commonplace for people to just stop working and live off retirement and do what? They don't get a break. They don't get to enjoy their life. They don't get to relax until they're that old. And at that point, because they haven't been taking the best care of themselves, people are expecting to die in their 80s. I am not one of those people. I have chosen a life that is living to my happiest potential every single day. I choose to take care of myself because I want to live till I'm at least 100. I don't want to retire. I want to be active. I want to be doing what I do for my entire life. And from my experience, there aren't many people like that, like me out there, relatively. There are lots of people like that out there, but relative to the masses, not that many. And it's so sad because everybody, you included, can choose that. We can jump out of these mentalities and we can make shifts. But the sad thing is that there's only so much that's within our power because of the way our government runs things. And it seemed to me that the government is running a lot smoother than in the past. maybe I'm ignorant on a lot of things for the reasons I've mentioned, but you know, if this is good, we still have a long way to go. And it's not okay to just throw up our hands and say that's just the way it is. So what do? We have to make the changes on our own. We have to make the changes as much as we possibly can within our power. And then when we come up to these walls like I'm facing with deciding how I'm going to ensure my health, I guess we do the best we can and continue striving for a better option in the future, right? So whether I decide to buy health insurance or not, whether I decide to go with a health plan or accidental critical illness, I don't know. It seems like no matter what I do, it's going to have a very similar result. I guess the best I can do is make the best decision and then just continue living my life to the highest potential and inspiring other people to do the same. Because that's how I see the world changing. I see the world changing with each and every person doing that the best they possibly can and realizing that they don't just have to do what they've been told. That there is so much more to life than the average life that's presented to us. You don't have to be exhausted. You don't have to be miserable. You don't have to feel sick. You don't have to go to the doctor all the time. You don't have to die in your 80s. There are ways to give yourself the opportunity for the best life ever. You know, I think that's why this whole health insurance issue is so, I feel so charged about that, is because it ties into everything else. It's like, it's just another reminder of the state of things. And it's a reminder why I'm so passionate about what I do. And maybe I should see that as a gift, right? Maybe I was meant to come up against this wall so that I can start to rethink what I want to do with my life and the changes I want to make. Because it's not always entirely clear. It's getting clearer and clearer, and opportunities like this are wonderful. I'm thankful for them. Well, I'm really curious about your response to this, and as always, I read them all whether I respond or not to them, and I appreciate you. I appreciate you taking the time, and I appreciate you listening and giving me the opportunity or choosing to give me the opportunity of watching these videos and listening to what I have to say and respecting my opinion. I respect your opinion, even if it differs from mine, especially when it comes to politics. So it'll be interesting to see how all of you react. Okay. I'll see you next time.